Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special Awake Illinois podcast. I'm Shannon Adcock, founder of Awake Illinois. And if you're watching the video portion of this broadcast, you can see that I have ashes on my forehead because we're actually recording on Ash Wednesday, this February 18th. And so we're going to be delving into a very, I think, alarming topic, but one that's very, very important for every Illinois parent and family. And quite frankly, school administrator, school board member, policymaker, stakeholder to know what is happening with the mental health rollout in Illinois schools. And we're joined by a very special guest, a fellow mama bear and advocate here in Illinois out of McHenry County. Let me welcome her right now to the platform. We have Jacqueline Garrettson. Welcome, Jacqueline.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So this is a very important bulletin. This is a call of action for parents to know what is happening with this rollout. You as a mom are already seeing what's happening in the school district there in McHenry County. We're going to outline a contract that you discovered that is rolling some of this out already. The alarm has been sounded by many of us, for I think a few years now, but now we're seeing the implementation in real time. So, I'm so glad that you're joining us today. Why don't you just share with people a bit about who you are, and then we'll delve into this topic.
Sure. So like Shannon said, I live up here in McHenry County. I'm involved in many organizations, but I am a mom first and got involved in this scene during the masking lawsuits and got involved locally. My daughter's best friend was not allowed to attend school in person. Half of the children were going into the schools, half of them had to stay remote. And unfortunately, because of that, she became very depressed and tried to take her own life. And that is when I, as a parent, said, I can't be silent about this anymore. What's happening in the schools is wrong. And like you and many other parents, we decided to sue the government and take back our rights. And I've been fighting ever since. I am a parent that digs on everything that comes in front of my children. And I want to alert other parents. There's so many parents that are still asleep of what's happening within our schools. And it's so important for them to know what their children have access to and who has access to their children. So that is why I'm here today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the work you do, not only in McHenry County, but in helping families across the state with your voice and with your advocacy. So for anybody who did not see or watch the Awake Illinois January 19th, 2024 live stream, I think that's a really good dive into some of what has brought about what we're seeing now in McHenry County and in other places in Illinois. And so I encourage you to go back and watch that. It's some of our recent blog posts at awakeil.com. You can see there are some recent posts that still link to this, but I'm not going to dive into the whole backstory of how Illinois has arrived to this point of really radical and worrisome mental health screenings and contracted services. But take a look at that if you want to get more of a deeper dive. We're going to touch on some of the bigger bullet points in this discussion, but please take a look at that. So March of 2022 was when our current governor, in my opinion, the worst governor in history, J.B. Pritzker, launched the Children's Behavioral Health Transformation Initiative. It's a lot to unpack, but he launched this to, quote, improve behavioral health services for children. So you can see that press release went out. And our assertion, and Jacqueline, tell me if you agree, is that this is just a gradual government expansion with a lot of really worrisome activism behind it.
Absolutely. I think that they laid the groundwork decades prior, but they definitely rolled this out post-COVID and pushed really hard on the SEL learning and all of those things. And we're definitely going to see them start to be implemented within our schools.
Yep. We were talking before we started the recording that you saw how Illinois was one of the first states to really go all in on this mental health agenda in schools and otherwise. And Chicago Public Schools was one of the first schools to adopt social emotional learning, and look at how literacy, proficiencies, and truancy has just gone so terribly wrong there in that district since all that money's been pumped in. It hasn't helped students one bit. But the American Academy of Pediatrics, we've highlighted our concerns with their stances, not only on medical freedom and vaccines, but with gender affirming care. We've also highlighted Lurie Children's Hospital promoting gender ideology. They together celebrated this blueprint for transformation and everything else that came out from Governor Pritzker. So just be aware of the parties involved here and how they're all working together on a lot of this mental health agenda. The state has given money to Lurie Children's Hospital, more than $11 million in one of the budget books. Wellness checks in Schools Act, June of 2022, focused on grades 7 through 12. And we're going to talk about this contract that Jacqueline found from her school district. This mental health contract is focused on grades 6 through 12. So it's beginning in these ages. We'll talk about why that is. And then February of 2023, officially, the Blueprint for Transformation came about. It is titled A Vision for Improved Behavioral Health Care for Illinois Children. And you can see DCFS, the Illinois Department of Public Health, the Illinois State Board of Education, all signed on to this. So I just want people to understand, how we've arrived to where now you, Jacqueline, are seeing this Care Solace is the company and the contract you learned about out of McHenry County, Johnsburg Community Unit School District 12. This will affect grades 6 through 12. Let's just dive into how you learned about it and what some of the communication has been like with the school. And we're going to break down some of the most worrisome parts of this contract, of this Care Solace provider, and we'll just show people all the information.
Yeah. So I received an email from my school that they received a grant for this Care Solace and that they'd be implementing it for the next 6 months. Post 6 months, I'm not sure what they intend on doing, but for the next 6 months, they are going to be using this provider. And that's what they describe it as. It's just a provider that will help assist those that are within our school system. And it's not necessarily meant for everyone. It's very lax, right? But when you dig into it and you see how quickly this organization has expanded, not only in Illinois, but nationwide, it started to spark my interest, right? So I started to dig into this organization and who is behind it and what contracts they have and what they have access to. And they're really an AI organization that provides teachers this central hub of being able to, see the interventions and give care to children, right? And I know that we're going to talk about this later, but in Illinois, they are allowed access to our children after age 12 without parental consent or notification, which is extremely concerning. So this Care Solace has recently merged with Limnus, which is an AI company. And Limnus was also known as the NWEA, which provides MAP testing to children. So when you see the links and correlations and how they are able to have all of this information on our children that is basically tracked by their student ID number, they have behaviors, they have attendance records, they have mental health information and medical information. And it becomes incredibly scary how much data they have on our children by the time that they graduate high school. So that's really what piqued my interest. And then obviously, I tell parents, find out who is behind these organizations. You can search them on LinkedIn and find the ties. Many of them had ties to the National Governors Association and mutual organizations where they will sit on a board on one organization, but then they'll work for the next. And it's kind of this incestuous group that we've found within the educational system. So those were really what piqued my interest and why I started to ask questions to my district. And that's what I found.
Okay, well, thank you. And I'm so glad that you really did the research on this. And so looking at this particular, news article about Care Solace and Lemnis, What they state is, quote, Care Solace is revolutionizing mental health care access, bridging the gap to social agencies and community-based mental health providers. Through a human-centered and technology-supported approach, Care Solace navigates the fragmented mental health care system to match individuals with care. Dedicated multilingual care companions are available 24/7, 365 to ensure the perfect fit for each person's unique care needs and insurance requirements. About Lemnis. Quote, Lemnis is a philanthropic venture investing in solutions that expand learning for all. At Lemnis, they champion a bold vision to empower learners in an era of constant change where the boundaries of possibility are limitless. Their name, inspired by Lemniscate, embodies this notion of boundless potential. Just as the Lemniscate symbolizes infinity, they believe in limitless possibilities and are relentless in its optimism for future learners, workers, and citizens. Lemnis works alongside change makers in neuroscience, social science, digital technology, and artificial intelligence. Through partnership, they create new environments where every learner feels a deep sense of belonging and community, end quote. All of that word salad sums up what is effectively the whole school, whole child, it's WISC, whole community, whole school, whole child model that my friend Kelly Shinkowski has uncovered out of her work in California as an advocate, which is effectively to replace the mom and the dad with government interventions. And it's going to create a utopian, I would say, a Marxist society is what the end game is for a lot of this activism. People may say that sounds crazy, but when we delve into the contract, you see how there are loopholes that could override parental rights, at best blur the lines, and really bait and switch children and families in the name of, quote, the noble mission of mental health care. We're going to delve into some of the specifics of the contract, but I think it's very important, to your point, for people to know, Jacqueline, who is behind these endeavors and for people to do their own research. If you doubt us, do your own research.
Right. It's all there.
It's all there. And so grades K through 12, you mentioned earlier the Illinois statute. So you had snapshotted this. It's a great graphic for people to understand how in Illinois, per the Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities Code, you can see the code right there if you want to look this up for yourself. Per this law, children ages 12 and over can receive 8 sessions or 90 days, whichever comes first, of, quote, mental health care, counseling, screenings, any number of things without parental notification. So it's all right here. They can receive outpatient counseling, psychotherapy without parent or guardian consent. And so it says this is a statute most often cited. Here, I can zoom in on it. Most often cited when schools partner with mental health providers or offer school-based counseling. So, Jacqueline, what they're saying is, mom and dad, you don't have to agree. We have a loophole to bring in Care Solace, to bring in Lurie Children's, to bring in a woke activist group to screen your child. We don't need your permission.
That's exactly what they're saying.
I mean, people, I think we're
and it's not
crazy.
Just mental. Yes. And it's not just mental health either. If you scroll down, it says that they can help provide pregnancy related care. And that makes sense in Illinois because Pritzker wants to be the abortion capital of the nation. He said it himself. So when you know that these children 12 and up are receiving not only mental care, right, but physical care within their school district, and there's no need to tell parents, it's incredibly concerning.
It is. And look at medical care and health services. So Consent by Minors to Medical Procedures Act. This allows minors to consent on their own for certain services, including diagnosis or treatment of sexually transmitted infections, substance abuse treatment, pregnancy-related care, some emergency services. These may be delivered in school-based health centers or via school referrals. Effectively, again, parents may be totally unaware.
Correct.
Third, school-based mental health programs. School themselves don't create consent authority. They rely on the statutes above. So people need to understand in the state of Illinois that parents may have no clue their children are being exposed to third parties or who knows what agenda, all because of these loopholes. Crazy. Anything else to comment on with that statute, Jacqueline?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered
Okay.
it.
All right. So let's delve in. So this is where people need to buckle up. This is the actual contract for Johnsburg Community Unit District 12 in McHenry County, Illinois. So you received the service agreement. Why don't you tell us how you were able to get that?
I just reached out. Typically, I FOIA these things, but I was able to receive it without a FOIA because I wanted to see the full contract. There are contracts available for other states. If you just Google it and put in Care Solace or a state, there will be other links that you can follow to see how other states operate. But this one was given directly to me. So that you can read through and kind of see what the agreement was between the school and the service provider and what they have access to.
Okay, so in this particular service agreement, they talk about how Care Solace owns and operates a web-based navigation system. So it's really a web-based platform that the school uses. That's what they're paying for. So this is kind of just part of the introduction to the contract. Now, here's where we start getting into some of the meat of the services. Again, Johnsburg Community Unit School District 12 in McHenry County. So look at these care coordination services. Through the platform's, quote, warm handoff, end quote, that's a registered phrase, goes on to say this module, Care Solace will administer a screening and referral process whereby school district enrolled students in need of mental health or other healthcare or social services are identified and matched to treatment providers or appropriate social service organizations. It goes on to say, through the platform's Care Match self-service portal, Care Solace will administer a screening and referral process whereby authorized users or their legal guardians in need of mental health or other healthcare or social services are matched to treatment providers or appropriate social service organizations. So people need to know that could be a non-government organization in your county, in your town. You have no idea what these organizations are all about. And then care companion services. It talks about how Care Solace will provide school district enrolled students and or their parents or lawful guardians with telephone and email access to unlicensed administrative care coordinators, otherwise known as care companions, who are trained in researching and addressing treatment provider availability and health insurance issues. Care companions will be available to work directly with school district enrolled students and or their parents or lawful guardians 24 hours per day, 7 days per week, 365 days per year. You guys, this is a lot. It's very concerning. It's a lot to unpack, but we have to, Jacqueline.
Literally. They have to know. They have to know what their kids have access to. They just have to know.
So screenings, again, we've talked about the concerns over the screenings. Who is administering it? What type of screening is it? Is it panorama surveys? That woke son-in-law of Merrick Garland, former Attorney General of Illinois, who called parents speaking at school board meetings effectively domestic terrorists. I mean, who is entrusted with these screenings that, again, you may have no idea as the mom or dad or the legal guardian if this is even happening with your child during the school day. We don't know what social service organizations are going to be a part of this. But this and or, Jacqueline, this and or is very important. This is leveraging that loophole with the 12 and over not needing parental informed consent or permission, students and or their parents. So again, parents, if you are in Johnsburg Community Unit School District 12, if you are in any district that is doing social emotional learning or implementing any of these mental health programs, this could be coming to your school district and you need to know about it. So when you look here, so the social service organizations that's underlined right there, this is my concern, Jacqueline, is schools have already partnered with woke activist groups, non-government organizations that are politically motivated. You may not know unless you ask and inquire, ask these questions, mom and dads. What community-based organizations are partnered with your school district? So oftentimes schools will just outsource this. And if you look at the arrow on this particular slide, look at one of the NGOs that is used in this blueprint for transformation, that Pritzker agenda, this memo from February of 2023. They use a Communities United, survivor-led intergenerational racial justice organization developing grassroots leadership for social change. What the hell does that have to do with mental health? I mean, that just sounds like a far left progressive activist political organization. And 100%. This could be who is part of the screenings, who is part of access to your child, and you may not know.
100%.
So I mentioned the tools for the screening. The number one, this is in the memo, you guys. This is in page 21 of the memo of the Blueprint for Transformation. The number one screening tool outside of this BASC model that social workers and clinicians use is Panorama Social Emotional Learning Survey. They bill thousands upon thousands of dollars to schools. They data mine children's information. I know Naperville School District 203 has a web-based program from Panorama. It monitors the children's bathroom breaks. It monitors everything, the social emotional scoring, all kinds of things. So I just need people to be aware of the bad actors that could be attached to some of this stuff. And it shows, in this memo of the Blueprint for Transformation, it shows that they know parents are concerned. So if you are in a school district, you have to ask the questions like Jacqueline did. Because look at this one particular segment in the memo. It said, quote, one school administrator said that some parents feel the schools are overstepping by screening students, saying that parents know there are mental health needs, but they do not want the schools to intrude in the area that they see as private to this family sphere. We heard that parents have objected to some of the questions, including in the screeners, and many are wary of the potential for private information about their child to be shared without their knowledge. Bingo.
Yep.
So they know parents like you are out there, Jacqueline. They know that you could be standing in the gap, and they're going to have to answer to that. So this is another worrisome part of the contract, page 6 of the contract, and we'll have all the links to this so parents can go through it themselves and take a look. But page 6 says independent contractors are school officials. So let's read this clause here. School district represents and warrants that any, quote, independent contractor defined as third-party contractors, consultants, or other parties to whom school district has outsourced institutional services that is provided with access to Care Solace's navigation tool, the warm handoff procedures, or is otherwise responsible for transmitting directory information or educational records to Care Solace has also been designated as, quote, a school official as defined above, and that the school district has provided parents and students with the annual notice required by law. So maybe you can speak to this too, Jacqueline. I find a lot of these informational bulletins get buried in like a SMORE newsletter or a student handbook that nobody reads. There's no express paperwork that comes home that says, hey, we could have independent contractors screening your child and they are deemed school officials now, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's scary, honestly, to think about, because so many parents will receive an email and say, we have this new thing added into our district, but how many parents are reading those emails? It's going to be very few. And then from that point, how many parents are asking for the contract? Again, I could be the only one within the district that is asking for this information. And to be honest, I come from a very conservative area where we don't really see this woke ideology within our classrooms. I moved here for that purpose. But it's coming through these third-party contractors. And mind you, I've actually opted out of all AI technologies for both of my kids at the beginning of the school year. And this gives them AI access as well to their information. So it's incredibly, incredibly scary to know what these districts have signed on to. And I honestly don't believe that even the administration or even some of the teachers understand what they've really signed up for.
Well, you'll have to send them the link to this podcast so that they can get the scoop and they can see it for themselves.
I will.
And so this is a fascinating clause, and it's in bold font in the contract. So I find this ironic and almost ridiculous, where it says in 1.2 of this contract, the first page actually, it says, Care Solace is not a treatment provider nor a crisis response team. Care Solace is not a mental health treatment provider nor a provider network and does not provide mental health treatment or other healthcare treatment to authorized users. No provider-patient relationship is formed by provision of the services. Rather, Care Solace acts solely as a coordinator by connecting authorized users to treatment providers. Care Solace is not a crisis response team. This is very important. Listen to this. Care Solace does not represent, warrant, or guarantee that treatment providers or community-based social services are of a particular quality. Care Solace shall not be liable for the quality of care provided by treatment providers or community-based social services. So they're basically acting as like a brokerage firm for who knows who to get access to these kids. That's kind of what I'm seeing here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not a mental health treatment provider. Why are they in this? To me, this is such a waste of money for a school at this point, Jacqueline. I do not understand it.
Agree.
So the fees are outlined here. I saw a contract out of, I think it was Palo Alto School District that you had sent me, a much larger school district. Their contract fees were far greater. But you're in a smaller district. And so this has already started. The service date has started January 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2026. So you're in a 6-month term right now. The school district will pay Care Solace fees consisting of $1,700 for the care coordination and care companion services for the initial term. For each 1-year renewal term thereafter, school district will pay Care Solace $3,400. Fees will be invoiced on January 1st and then July 1st for the renewal. What do you think of like people who would challenge that and say, well, that's not a lot of money?
Oh, it's not a lot of money, but it's a lot of access. And I think that our children's data is more important than the cost. I think that who they have access to is more important. And I think that parents should be provided all of the information as taxpayers and have a say-so in what their children are, consenting to, essentially.
Absolutely. And what did they say? What did they say this contract was being paid with initially?
Grant funding for the first 6 months. Yep, grant funding.
Okay. All right. So the state is probably providing that grant, I would expect, or some non-government organization. I don't know how they bid for that, but obviously the amount of data that is being put forth from children without parental, in my opinion, proper parental notification or consent is very alarming. We don't know, to your point, who has access to not just your children's data, but to your children directly in a school.
Right.
So I think it's important for people to know there are opt-out rights for parents. You mentioned before we recorded the Supreme Court ruling recently with Mahmoud. Parental rights reign supreme, and this could be a really huge piece of liability for a school district. And so many, grassroots organizations like ours, Courage is a Habit, Moms for Liberty, Parents of an Education have all encouraged opt-out via various forms. We did put one together subsequent to Illinois passing House Bill 1560, which wraps in even more mental health screening stuff. So parents do have rights, Jacqueline. I think it's really important for people to know they have the right to ask these questions of their school district and to opt out.
Absolutely. That's the first thing that they should be doing, is figuring out what is in their schools, right? And making the decisions for their family. If they want to continue on with these organizations, that's fine, but at least you are aware of who has access to your kids.
Absolutely. And so, I think it's important for people to just understand that this is not hyperbole. This is happening across the country. It's happening in conservative area, politically conservative areas, in far left progressive areas. It's pretty equal opportunity at this point. And I can tell you, my friend Kelly, who I mentioned, let me put that back up here so you can see it. She has been at the forefront of talking about the WISC model, the whole school, whole community, whole child model, which is really based out of like the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, a lot of these globalist entities. And it's what wrapped in the social emotional learning into schools. That has been very well funded, but that has been heavily activist and political based. There are no metrics for success when it comes to this. Actually, like I mentioned, Chicago Public Schools has even worse outcomes now, decade after using social emotional learning as a big part of its budget. So I encourage people to listen to Kelly with then Tiffany Justice with Moms for Liberty. You know, she really delves into this. And so it unpacks, kind of like I showed you Pritzker's blueprint for transformation. It unpacks this whole concept of replacing the mom and the dad and how schools end up with a lot of control over your child.
So terrifying, honestly. Just to know that they have a system set up that can track behaviors and screen your children and have access to their medical records. And it keeps getting earlier in the education system. So by the time that they graduate, high school, and they can't read and write, but they are social justice warriors, you're really leading up to a credit system, a social credit system. And that's terrifying. You can call me a conspiracy theorist, but this is what we're leading up to. And you can definitely see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, and that's why we've encouraged people to opt out of the Illinois Youth Survey, which sends data to University of Illinois, out of the 5 Essentials Survey, which is being rolled out in a lot of schools right now through the spring, through March. That data goes to University of Chicago. And so, I mean, you have to look at the digital backpack. That's what we call it, the digital backpack that your kids carry through school, where these surveys are absolutely attached to their school ID, to their name. You cannot trust that your children's data through Care Solace program or any other is going to be protected. So I'm so grateful, Jacqueline, that you brought this to our attention with this, contract that has come out of your school. And just another reminder, you guys, I mean, per Illinois law, your children ages 12 plus could be in the presence of who knows what third party that now through these types of contracts could be deemed, quote, school officials, that could be giving them screenings, could be giving them counseling sessions, medical information, and you will not know. But I encourage you to submit the opt-out, because once you assert your parental rights on paper with your student's file, that really changes the liability issues for the school. And the school's perspective is that if you are a parent who knows what's up, like Jacqueline, and you know your rights, that's a strong barrier to stand in the gap. The Supreme Court has validated parental rights. It has secured them. It continues to secure them as more lawsuits come about when school districts violate opt-out forms like this. So get on record with your school. And I do want to invite some lawyers on who can speak to how opt-out rights will supersede any state statute so long as you have documentation submitted to your school. So please submit this, whether it's our form at awakeil.com/forms or any other opt-out form. Get it on record at any moment in the school year. If you're just doing it for the first time, do it now, mid-year, and then do it at the beginning, the start of every school year going forward. Any final closing thoughts, Jacqueline, as we close out here?
No, I want parents to educate themselves. Take the time to know what your kids are being exposed to. Take the time to ask questions. If you don't know how to FOIA, please reach out to somebody that does know how to do so. It's so important to not just blindly trust government institutions with your child's well-being. Please ask questions and be informed.
Absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head. And the question I always ask people, Jacqueline, is whoever is entrusted with your child at a school or a church or a camp, how well do they know you, the mom and the dad? What comes to mind if they're to rank your child as easy or hard to indoctrinate or access for any nefarious purpose? I know that they know your school knows that you are an intentional parent and that you and your husband are intentionally parenting your child. You are asking the questions, you are involved. That makes a huge difference, and that is your parental right. So well done, Jacqueline Garrettson, out of McHenry County. We will have all the links to the slides that we showed here today, along with the link to the contract. Please be vigilant, submit the opt-out forms, and ask the questions of your school district. Jacqueline, I'm grateful for your time and for your advocacy, and I appreciate you coming on today.
No problem. Thanks so much, Shannon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Share this podcast, share the links, protect the kids, and onward for Illinois. Thanks so much, everybody, and talk soon.
Well, I took the train, but all right, friends, you're live.
Yeah.
Oh, we're live. Ready to roll?
Is that, were you looking for the U.S. Marshal there, Shannon? Were you supposed to see a U.S. Marshal? There was a U.S. Marshal too.
Oh, okay.
You kind of just looked at us and then walked away.
Okay. Audio good?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, let's go.
Hi, my name is Ajay Gupta. I represent the plaintiffs in this action. It's a class action, and it's FF v. Valley View Community Unit School District 365U. That is at docket number 125 CV 09112 here in the district court in the Northern District of Illinois. First of all, I want to make it clear that I'm representing the plaintiffs in this action in my individual capacity and not as an agent or a representative of any law firm or any educational institution or other organization with which I am affiliated. Second, I want to make it clear that I'm representing plaintiffs in this action pro bono. I have not asked for, nor will I accept any compensation for my services in this representation. So, let me give you an update on this litigation. On July 13th of this year, the district court here dismissed the complaint, and on July 17th, the district court clarified that it was dismissing the complaint with prejudice. Today, the plaintiffs have filed a notice of appeal to the Seventh Circuit, appealing the district court's dismissal of the complaint. Based on the Supreme Court's decision in West Virginia, v. BPJ, which was handed down on June 30th of this year, we are confident that the Seventh Circuit will reverse the district court's dismissal of the complaint. And we expect to be back here in this district court litigating this case. Disappointingly, but unsurprisingly, the press has mischaracterized this action. Had those writing about this action simply bothered to read the straightforward 25-page complaint, which was filed August 1 of 2025, they would have discovered the very modest relief that plaintiffs in this action have asked for and the very modest relief that the district court has denied them. And that modest relief is some objective review and verification of a request by a biological male to be granted access to female-only spaces on campus. The school district's policy, which treats a self-declaration as conclusive and dismisses the female students' privacy concerns as speculative, is precisely the harm against which Title 19 and the Equal Protection Clause are supposed to guard. The district court, however, as I said, has dismissed these concerns. This case was never about ideology. It was, and it remains, about whether schools may force teenage girls to share intimate spaces on campus with biological males based on nothing more than a self-declaration for cross-sex access. That policy, we believe, is wrong, and we fully expect to be vindicated by the Seventh Circuit. It is my pleasure now to introduce Jim Fisher, who is the father of the named plaintiff in this action. Jim.
Thank you, Ajay. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here in the Chicago Federal Courthouse area. My name is James Ellard Fisher, father in Bolingbrook, Illinois. I would like to thank Attorney Ajay Gupta, Shannon Adcock, and Awake, Illinois for standing with the families of the Valley View School District 365U. What a powerful team supporting our community and daughters. Over a year ago, I partnered with the district working toward reasonable solution that would protect the privacy and safety of girls in girls' bathrooms and girls' locker rooms at Bolingbrook High School. Instead of working with the parents toward a compromise that respected everyone's dignity, the district chose to continue a policy that places biological males in female private spaces. That district policy is still in place today, affecting thousands of female students in our community. This has never been about just one family in Bolingbrook. It is about love, truth, privacy, safety, and basic rights of every girl who attends school here. Fathers like me are standing up because we refuse to accept that our daughters should feel uncomfortable and unsafe in spaces that were set aside for them decades ago. Valley View School District receives federal funding. With that funding comes a clear legal obligation to follow Title IX. Title IX was written to protect female students from sex-based discrimination. It requires schools to provide equal opportunities and to respect the privacy and safety of girls. A policy that erases biological sex in intimate spaces undermines those protections. We are asking the district and its leadership to follow the law, follow Title IX, protect girls' privacy. Professional athlete Sophie Cunningham recently said, "I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men." Courage is contagious. I am with Sophie. I am here to protect every girl in this district who deserves to feel safe. We will continue this fight here in the courts and in our community for as long as it takes until the rights of female students are fully restored. Thank you for your time. Now, I would like to introduce another Valley View School District parent, Miss Paulina. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Paulina Kraśniewska-Worwa, and I represent a group of parents from Valley View School District 365. I am here today as a parent to respectfully ask you to consider an issue that is very important to our families: our daughters' privacy, safety, and sense of security when using school restrooms and locker rooms. I am here today because we care deeply about the well-being of all students. We believe every student deserves to be treated with dignity, respect, and compassion. We believe every individual deserves kindness, safety, and equal respect, even when we may disagree with their beliefs or life choices. We live in the country founded on the principles of freedom, respect, and tolerance. We believe that every individual deserves dignity, safety, and respect for their rights. At the same time, we believe the same principles should also apply to our families. As the parents, we have the right to raise our children according to our deeply held values and to expect that their need for privacy will be treated with the seriousness it deserves. We also believe it is important to protect the privacy and safety of biological girls in school restrooms and locker rooms so that they can feel comfortable and secure. Every biological girl deserves privacy, safety, and comfort when using school restrooms and locker rooms. Our daughters do not feel comfortable sharing restrooms and locker rooms with individuals who are biologically male. This causes their distress and feeling of losing privacy. This is not intended as a sign of disrespect toward anyone. Rather, it reflects their personal boundaries and their need for privacy and dignity. Personally, each year, I submit a request asking my daughter has access to private space if biological male who identifies as a girl is present in the girls' restrooms and locker room. I appreciate that this accommodation exists, but I have to ask, why should parents have to make this request every single year? Why should my daughter have to leave the girls' space to accommodate someone else's sense of belonging? As parents, we do not believe that it should be necessary. We should not have to worry every day that our daughters might come home feeling distressed, embarrassed, or uncomfortable because they encountered a biological male in a space designated for girls. We believe no parent should have to carry that concern. Parents should have the right to raise their children according to their sincerely held values and advocate for their children's privacy and well-being, and schools should take into account the need to protect the privacy of all students. We do not believe these principles are incompatible. Teaching girls about privacy and healthy personal boundaries is an important part of their development. From an early age, children learn that their bodies deserve respect, that they have the right to privacy, and that they should never feel pressured to ignore their own comfort and personal boundaries. These lessons help build confidence, self-respect, and understanding of consent. For these reasons, we respectfully ask the district to consider solutions that protect the dignity, privacy, and safety of every student, to include biological girls. We believe it is possible to find solutions that take into account the needs of everyone while being grounded in mutual respect, open dialogue, and respect for differing beliefs. We may not all agree on every issue, but we believe we all share the same goal: creating schools where every child feels safe, respected, and able to learn. Thank you. And now I would like to welcome Awaken Illinois founder, Shannon Adcock.
Good morning. I invite you to take a look at the signs that are being held here. If you want to raise them up, you can see My Daughter's Privacy Matters, Defend Title IX, Defend Girls, Protect Title IX, Appeal for Common Sense, Biology Isn't Bigotry, No Boys in Girls Bathrooms. This is not hate. This is not discrimination. This is about basic human rights. So that is why we are here today, and I'm so grateful for everybody who has joined us and who is standing tall for these girls. My name is Shannon Adcock. I am founder of Awake Illinois, and we are a statewide network of parents who believe that our children belong to their families, not to woke activism or political ideology or really terrible policies or government overreach. Today we stand with James Fisher, who you heard from, who is here in support of his daughter. And there are multiple families here to defend the civil rights of females. Thank you to the many Awake Illinois supporters for your donations and for your encouragement that have helped us to continue this fight to defend Title IX. People often ask us, where are the men on this issue? Well, good question. Today we can give a strong answer because men like James Fisher and attorney Ajay Gupta are standing tall in defense of female civil rights. Their courage matters, as does the courage of every parent who is here and is standing for their families in the state of Illinois and beyond. We are grateful for it. More courage, like everybody here, is really needed throughout Illinois. So we're supporting this legal appeal in the Seventh Circuit because the court's ruling is wrong and it puts every Illinois girl at risk. So let's be clear about what happened. A biological female student left her multi-stall bathroom to find a male inside the bathroom with her. This happened at Bolingbrook High School, and she knew that she was encountering an obvious male. He was dressed like an obvious male. None of the girls in the high school had been informed that males would have access to their bathrooms. So she obviously felt unsafe, she felt violated, and this was harmful to her. So instead of protecting her privacy and her dignity, the school district's policy and the federal judge's ruling treated her legitimate concern as, quote, speculative. The judge went even further and said that essentially if a female encounters another female in the bathroom, it is no different than encountering a male. This statement is a complete denial of biological reality and basic human privacy. Girls are not the same as boys in these private spaces, and pretending otherwise dismisses the very real discomfort, the vulnerability, and the loss of dignity that female students experience. So the court essentially said that girls in Illinois have no civil rights when it comes to single-sex bathrooms,
that the girl's discomfort doesn't matter, that biology doesn't matter, that Title IX, the very law designated to protect females, can be rewritten by ideology. We reject that completely. It's deeply disappointing that we have clear federal Title IX protections on the books, and yet a federal judge refuses to recognize them. Irrespective of how any judge in this moment chooses to dismiss the civil rights of females, the law remains the law. It is an honor to stand with people who have the courage to protect girls in their private spaces. And history will keep a record of who stood bravely for common sense, for safety, and for ethics. This is not about one school or one incident. Unfortunately, Valley View School District's policy reflects a statewide failure. Awake Illinois has filed federal civil rights complaints against multiple districts for the same violations. We have families in Deerfield, Libertyville, and throughout Illinois all experiencing the same erosion of girls' spaces, whether it is bathrooms, locker rooms, or sports teams. We are mothers and fathers who are done being silent. We are teachers, coaches, and community leaders who see the harm. And we are telling every elected official and school board and anyone entrusted with these policies, enough. Enough. Title IX exists to protect females on the basis of sex, not ideology. Privacy, safety, and fairness are not optional. Our daughters deserve bathrooms and changing areas where they don't have to worry about exposed bodies. This is common sense. This is not discrimination, and we are hopeful will grant the injunction we are seeking. An injunction that restores single-sex privacy protections for girls in Valley View School District 365, and it will send a clear message that Title IX still means what it has always meant. So this appeal is just the beginning, and we are prepared to take it as far as necessary, including to the U.S. Supreme Court, if that's what it takes, in order to restore sanity and safety in our schools. So to the families watching who have been too afraid to speak up, you are not alone. We have legal counsel ready, we have evidence, and we have momentum. The young females engaged in these federal legal actions wish to protect their privacy and retain their anonymity. More girls and families will become plaintiffs as these cases proceed through the court, and we hope that the court will protect their privacy. After all, that is exactly what this entire action is about. It is about the girls' privacy. This fight will not fatigue us. Justice will prevail. Parents are awake, and we will not back down until our daughters' civil rights are fully protected. For anybody interested in following this appeal or other ways in which we are defending Title IX, please visit www.awakeil.com/TitleIX. We're happy to take a few questions if you have any. No questions? All right. Well, thank you for being here. Females have civil rights, and we will defend them. Onward. God bless.